When anyone acquainted with what you know on this level of life as philosophical and metaphysical studies will consider you a consummate literalist, philosopher, or metaphysician. And what you teach people, let's call it the new philosophy or the neo philosophy. Yet you say you are not espousing any philosophy. Now, so how can you explain the discrepancy between what you say and what everyone who has some knowledge of what is termed philosophy knows? So there is a discrepancy between your proclamation as not belonging, not espousing any philosophy, yet when people study it from another angle, it looks like you're one of the highest, if not the highest philosopher or metaphysician who lives. So how can you explain this discrepancy to somebody?
That becomes fun, doesn't it? Actually, Charles, and that's a good question, and people really want to understand it better, and that is that anything we create is a theory. Okay, so we even see it in the movies sometimes when, the little mad scientists are inventing something. And, I'll use the Shadow movie as an idea. When the Shadow, as Alec Baldwin, comes to the Chinese guy and his little laboratory, and they're talking about beryllium, okay, and a possible atomic bomb and all this stuff. Again, see, they're talking about theory. So in other words, until it's actually taken place, until you actually explode the bomb, it's a theory, is what it is. And so and up to that point, even though they put it together, you got the bomb, it's loaded in the plane, it's all theory. It's really like a philosophy. It's an idea. Philosophy is an idea, is simply ideas. That's all, created ideas. So we categorize them as philosophies and theory. They're really the same thing, belief, etc., until it's an actuality. And so the same with what is being presented here. That's why, yes, people can say that, oh, okay, he's a philosopher or whatever. But actually, I create reference, is what I do. Yes, I'm a reference creator, you might say. It's kind of funny. Well, I'll just use that for now. All right, that's not a matter of fact, but that's what I do, and I have explained many times that it's like what Paul wrote, and now and then he created the Shariat book, and then what they did is they upgraded. At a certain point, Darwin or Harold or whoever, Joni, they upgraded the book to have, gold ends on the pages like the Bible. They copied the Bible, and then they upgraded the whole idea of it. In other words, they marketed it, and they sold it for about $150, something like that, $150. And it's the same writings that were like 10 or 12 bucks in Paul's days. It's all the same stuff. The Shariat 1 and 2 as an example, but now it's all of a sudden, because you got a bigger price range, it's the sacred holy works, and these are sacred writings. Gee, what's the difference between the original book and the new book here? Except that it costs more money, but now it's got this label that it's sacred on it. Again, these are just ideas. It's marketing, is what it is, and so. I don't see what I'm referring to. It is special in its own way, but it's really very simple, and all it can be. I'm just being honorable with it. Really, I am, and that is it can just be a reference, even though people may say philosophy or whatever. But this is where people don't recognize truly they think they do because they're literal. They think they recognize, and so it's easy to put things in categories. But no, it has nothing to do with that because that's theory. And it is in its own way theory or philosophy until the individual actually does it. And they find out that, oh yes, it already is. You see, so this is the difference between creation and the isness. The isness already is. And whatever is created in creation, yes, it is theory until it is proven to the literal mind. That is the process, you see. So it's just like the courtroom. You know, it becomes so. It doesn't really become a judgment until it's proclaimed in the courtroom. So it's a slam dunk. So the same thing with what is presented here in the physical creative sense. And so in creation, you cannot, with creation, you cannot prove, okay? You cannot prove the isness with creation. You can refer to it, but you cannot prove it. This is where each person proves it to themselves. And so this is the old way that it goes, and it's just very real. Everything is. Actually, everything is that. We just go off of what is created out there. So we create an idea like building a house. At first, it's theory. When you're looking at the blueprints, it's theory. It's a philosophy, is what it is. Oh, this is a nice idea. Oh, I like your idea. See, it's just an idea. But when the house is built, it becomes an actuality because it's a physical thing. It only becomes an actuality according to the physical realm. That's really what it is. And this is where, you know, the different so-called levels are defined accordingly so that people wake up. But in this world, for the most part, people are one-dimensional. They just see physical phenomena. So it's easy to say it's theory. You know, so again, it's like Harry coming up the coastline. You know, they theorize or they give the idea that, okay, it's coming here, it's going there, let's see where it goes, let's see what it's going to do. Just like before it produced, they're sitting there waiting, well, let's see what it's going to do, if it's going to become a hurricane, you see. It's in the theory stage. Yeah, it's in the theory stage. And so these ideas, you know, like Paul, he was supposedly guilty of plagiarism, well, which he did. He did all these funny things in creation. Creation's funny. This is where we have fun with it. It's all funny, and these labels, they're all funny. I've just simplified it. It's all reference, really, is all it is. It's not this or that. It's not sacred. And tradition, oh, gee, that's a burden. People think tradition is some kind of sacred ritual to go through, when really all you're doing is taking on more burden of old nonsense that probably should have never been created. You know, so again, yeah, these ideas, etc. And I've been called worse than that. That's actually nice, and we all have. We've all been there. We all go through this process. Anybody that even presents anything to the world, even the silly stuff we went through in high school that we argued about. You know, so you have all kinds of things going on, but realistically. These are references. And again, I haven't copyrighted anything. You know, these words that I use, I don't own them. You know, when the Pilgrims came over here, they didn't own the land. The Indians didn't own the land. They were on the land. They were utilizing it. Again, like we're utilizing what's taking place here. But then the Europeans, which was, you know, they used the Pilgrims as the front. The bankers were behind all this. They created all the wars, etc. The British, the Revolutionary War, and all these things. They created all that stuff. That was just the marketing ploy to get people to get established here and to take things over and then to push the Indians aside. That was all a takeover. Yeah, that's really what's taking place. So these ideas and I have fun looking at things differently. And so again, I don't own any of these things. I don't own any of these ideas. Anybody can utilize them. But there is one important factor here, and that is intent. You see, Joni, they use my stuff. You know, they use what I've written, but it's not mine. It's available to everybody. But you see, the thing is, it won't work for them because of their intent. See, that's the real ingredient, is the intent and the awareness. They don't have the awareness. They don't have the intent. And so it won't work for them. They can use the words. They can use the same words. I use the and the this and the that's. It's all held together by, because or but or at or of or whatever. You look at all these little words that hold the other words together. You see, the so-called principal words or the prime words in a sentence. But we all use those words. We just simply rearrange them. So at what point is a document sacred? Is it because of the rearrangement of the words or whatever? It's nonsense. It's all nonsense. And so here becomes the adventure to actually really expose this nonsense so people can finally wake up and see past the nonsense. Yeah, and that's the real risk-taker position. How many people will do that? How many people have the courage to do that? Just to be real and wonderful. And so that's us. So getting back to all this stuff, no, I create reference to the isness. That's what I create. Yes, and the new man or the Duane the Great Writer, that's just a reference. That's a reference to somebody. We got to reference something. Okay, so we reference that. Harold has claimed himself, like the Pope and the President, they're the kings of the world. They're the kings of their kingdom and domain. See, that becomes different. They have become the authorities. I'm not the authority here. I'm the guy who has created the reference to the true reality life is. See? And the reason that they don't deal with it, because they're afraid and they don't have the awareness to do it. But most of all, they're afraid. And that's why the world is self-destructing, because those who have decided to control the world, they're afraid that everybody else is going to outdo them. So what they do is they create deception and destruction, and they keep it going. And you get so many people to agree to it, well, voila, everybody's destroying themselves because everybody is afraid to step up and be real and honorable. It's that simple. It's so simple. And everything is for everybody. But there are certain people that want it all for themselves. And so they're afraid that others will get it. So they create all this distortion. And so, yes, what I'm presenting is revolutionary according to the distortion, but it's just a reference. And yes, it is a theory and it is a philosophy until the individual activates it and utilizes it for themselves. And then as we are here for those that step up and recognize each other, that's the process. It's so cool, isn't it? It is that recognition that's very important, very important. And then to be the risk taker, step up and live the adventure. So in the meantime, yes, these things are funny, and whatever comes our way, Charles, it's all okay. See, this is where we confront everything. And so people will say this, they'll say that. It's like the Eckhats, they'll say, oh, you're the mini-master, or you're the Cal, or you're whatever. We get all these things. See, I'm not even a philosopher or a theorist. I'm the Cal, or I'm this or that, you see. I'm the mini-master, or I think I'm the new Mahanta, or something like that. I never said any of these things, but they imply that. So anybody can imply anything. So this is where we creatively step up and demonstrate. It's just like the sun shining. Anybody can say anything about the sun. Oh, it's a theory, it's a philosophy, whatever. Anybody can say that too. Is it that? The best part is to be able to recognize what the sun is demonstrating and stand where the sun is. Stand right in the middle of the sun and see how the sun sees. See how the is sees. Stand in the middle of it. Where is the center? The center is you. Stand in the center of yourself and see it. So in the meantime, creation is a funny thing. It's like little kids playing with blocks. But again, we need creation to wake up. That's the best part. So we don't, I would suggest that you'd want to make what is in creation bigger and more real than the true reality life is. So this is your brave and bold adventure to decide, are you going to make this true reality and the presentation of what you decide to do more real, better, and bigger than what exists here? Well, we can do this, you see? And we're not pushing anything aside here, but as people wake up, the old ways melt away. They really do. And people see that, oh, gee, it's all nothing. And, it's just like walking out into the sunshine. Hey, there's a big sky out there, but it's really here. People just have to see it. So I know that's a lot. But yeah, these labels are going to be thrown all around. And that's, again, why I created the new presentation like I did, the best that I could, because it's just a presentation. It's not any of these other things. So it really goes back to that. And just like we're presenting the all-natural environment, hey, the natural environment is what it is. It makes sense. We pivot off of that. And so again, what label is that? Is that theory? Is that philosophy? No. It's actually, it just makes sense. And just like you and I, we have a mind, we have these 5 bodies with emotions and an intuitiveness, and eventually we recognize our real awareness. Well, yeah. In the meantime, yeah, we go through the process of confrontation with dealing with these funny things. And it's just like a little kid coming up to a person and looking up at them, a little kid that's about 2.5 feet tall. He looks up at the adult and says, are you a policeman? Are you a lifeguard? What are you? You see, he doesn't know. So again, this is the exchange of communication and of ideas, and eventually a real recognition of each other. That's the best part. And then when we recognize the true reality life is. So in the meantime, yes, we're going to go through this labelization, and it doesn't matter. It's all funny stuff. But we keep, you might say, marching on and letting the world know that, hey, there is something, wonderful. And we're wonderful worldwide educators, and we're presenting something wonderful. And, but you have to see it. That's it. You can have any idea you want, but you really have to see it. And once you see it, you'll see that all the ideas don't matter.